Welcome back to another edition of PonyFans Live. PonyFans Live brought to you by Lakewood's First and 10 on the northeast corner of Mockingbird and Abrams in Dallas, and recently named by D Magazine as the best sports bar in Dallas. Brought to you also by Gameday Cloth. Love your team, love your clothes. Visit their store at the corners of Legacy and the Tollway in Plano and check out GameDayCloth.com. I have been asked to announce their new fall line is in with a lot of long sleeve gear. Some of it is online. Check them out in the store. The rest will be online soon. And of course by PonyFans.com, the largest and only free website dedicated to SMU fans and SMU athletics everywhere. The show, again, is broadcast every week on PonyFans. We record it for YouTube. It's on PonyFans.com, so be sure to check us out each week to see who the upcoming guests are. With that said, please help me welcome our guests. Our first guest played one season under current head coach June Jones at the University of Hawaii. He then became the first player drafted by Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots, chosen 4 rounds ahead of some guy named Tom Brady, and retired from the NFL with 3 Super Bowl rings, now in his second year as the offensive line coach at SMU, Adrian Klemm. Our second guest, who will be joining us after the first break, is a world-class discus and shot putter from Estonia who came to SMU in large part to train with the SMU track coach, Dave Woolman, even though there isn't a men's team at SMU. After a year of throwing, he joined the football team, and in his first year playing the sport, he came within one of tying the all-time NCAA record for block kicks, and is now probably the most feared kick blocker in the country, or certainly one of them, and is also SMU's starting right defensive end, Margus Hunt. But we are starting with Adrian Klemm. And Coach, you played for a year under your now boss. Your senior year, Hawaii hires June Jones as your new head coach. What was your first impression of June, and what do you remember about the first times you met him?
Well, the first time I met him, I thought he was just a different guy. You know, anybody that's met June knows he's just a real laid-back individual. And June was my third head coach in 4 years. And so that would have been my 5th offense. Going into my 5th year, because I redshirted, that would have been my 5th offense and 5th offensive coordinator, the whole thing. So there's a little hesitation at first and just, readily just accepting him. And I think that was, that's throughout the whole team. But, he came in and said a number of things that we liked, but we kind of just wanted to wait and see how it went. And, earlier on in the spring, we noticed that everything he said, came to fruition. And we could just see we're getting better. And we had some talent on the team, but just we needed a little bit more direction and a strong leader, and he did the job. We went from 0-12, and I think we're 9-4 or something like that the next season. Went to our first bowl game, and I won more games in that season than I did in the previous 4 years. So I had a good experience with him, and I had a lot of trust in him. And I probably would have I would have went to the NFL, but I definitely wouldn't have been as high a draft pick as I was. And I attribute a lot of that to him just preparing me just on and off the field for what was to come. So.
Not only did he orchestrate the largest single-season turnaround in NCAA history with you, but he brings in this new goofy offense that he brought from the NFL, the run and shoot. How much of a change was that for you and the other guys up front in terms of learning that kind of blocking scheme?
It was a big change. Our offensive line, I was second smallest on our offensive line my senior year. So it's a lot different than the offensive line we have here. And we were playing out of a 2-point even on the goal line. And so to us, that was pretty foreign. And all of us complained about it initially and said, how can you run block out of a 2-point stance and different things like that? How can we be aggressive? And just, he just said, have faith in him and trust in him. And he's done this at the highest level, and guys are able to do it, and we can do the same thing. And that was one of the things that benefited me when I was coming out. And I try to stress out with the guys now. I said, even though we're in a passing offense and we're in a 2-point stance, it doesn't mean we can't be aggressive and we have to be passive. So.
The year you came out of college, the Patriots didn't have a first-round pick. They had sent it to the Jets in exchange for Bill Belichick, who then used their first pick, second round, on you. Can we then say that you're the foundation for the current Patriots dynasty?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I think you're being a little extra or whatever, but I like to say I had a small part in everything, and I was really fortunate. I blew my knee out right before the draft, and I thought I was going to drop the 4th or 5th round pick, and I was the best available at the time, and they took a chance on me, and I'll be forever grateful for that.
How often did you remind Tom Brady of the fact that you were taken 4 rounds ahead of him?
I still remind him to this day. When he got married and everything, I told him he needed to cut me a little check and just different things like that. He stayed with me his rookie year, before he actually got, the type of contract he has now and different things like that. I was the only one with the house out of the young guys, and so I mess with him all the time about that and say he owes me a little bit. But, he's a great guy. He's still humble and still the same individual he was before the draft. So he's a great guy. But I'll forever be that little trivia question. I remember Super Bowl time. I live in Arizona. That Super Bowl was out there, and that was a question in the paper, different things like that, is who was the first pick that year. So, his career has gone a little bit better than mine did, but he's a good guy. So.
Did you know when you were playing professionally, or even when you were in college, that you wanted to be a coach one day?
No, I didn't know that until about a year ago. I came over here, and it's just one of those things. I wasn't doing anything. When I retired, I moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was going back to Hawaii. I left a semester early from Hawaii to come to the States to just focus on, working out and get ready for the draft. And I was actually 2 courses shy of graduating, so I went back to finish up. And while I was out there, Coach McMackin asked me if I wanted to be a GA. And well, not GA, but a volunteer, in hopes that I'd be a GA. And so I thought about it, and then I was talking to June, who I talk to frequently, and he just said, hey, if you're going to do that, why don't you come to SMU? And I think it was maybe I called Lapaka and I called Wes, and Dan Morrison I've known even before I went to Hawaii, and there are a lot of friends here, and a lot of guys I feel like they're family, and so I just made the trek out here. I think I flew back to Scottsdale. I was there for about 2 or 3 hours, and I flew out here, and the next thing you know, I was volunteering and helping around the office, and just want to do something just because I want to be in a competitive environment, and I realized fairly quickly that everybody else my age is working, and I need to do something, and I didn't think I was going to work at first. I thought I was just going to help out, and I went home. When they went away games, I flew back every other weekend, and I enjoyed being around the kids. I enjoyed coaching them up, and not everything I told them was right the first time around, but things that were right and they were able to apply, they really enjoyed it and appreciated it, and I just like helping out the youngsters and a number of the relationships that we established off the field, and that it just really felt good to help and give back a little bit. And then, I missed the competitive environment, and in some regards, this gives me just as much of a fix as playing. And I get excited about it every week, and as he likes to say, I'm kind of soft-spoken and all these different things like that. I kind of say to myself, but on game day, I'm fired up like everybody else. I'm just not real vocal about it. So I just enjoy my time. It's a good feeling to be out there and have the opportunity to be in this field.
When you got hired last year, you did a year as a volunteer assistant, and then last year you took over the offensive line. You talked then about how good that group could be. You had Mitch Enright, who was a senior, and a whole bunch of sophomores. Mm-hmm. And you talked about that group and how good they could be as they grew together, got bigger, stronger, more comfortable, learning your system. Now they've got another, let's say, year and a half under their belt working for you. Talk a little about their development and how that progress has materialized under you. They've all developed and they've all gotten better, and it's just a testament to just how hard they work and how hard they try and they want it. A lot of those guys weren't recruited for the system, and you can look at somebody like J.T. Brooks or Bryce Tennyson. Bryce is a true center that has to play guard in our system, and J.T. is a kid that probably would have played a lot sooner if he was in a system where they just tee off and run off the ball. But he's transformed himself. He's lost about 30 pounds. And he's done the things necessary in terms of working on his footwork to become a productive tackle in our system. And then you have somebody like Mitch Enright, who was here, who's an undersized guy, but just picked everything up so good and was so good intellectually that he was able to make up for some of his physical shortcomings. And then obviously you have Beach, who's very talented and athletic, but he's a guy that in another system may be a guard because of his height. But all these guys just work real hard on their craft, and they've done all the little things to have success, and hopefully we continue to keep getting better. But one of the things that we stressed from the beginning when I took over offensive line is that I wanted our group to be physical, and that's one of the things that hopefully you see when we're playing each week, that we're a real physical group. That's one of the things that the coaches come up after the game and they talk about is our guys are physical, they finish, they get after it, and they fight throughout the game, and that's what I'm most proud of this group. A lot of people look at the run and shoot offense or any June Jones coached offense, and they see the ball in the air all the time, but it's a lot more balanced this year. You've got a running back in Zach Line who is, let's see here, averaging 102 yards a game. Nobody else in the conference is averaging even 80. And he's got over 200 yards more than anyone else. in the conference. He's got 918 going into this weekend's game. Nobody else in the conference even has 700 yet. How many of those yards are on him, and how many of those yards really go to your big guys up front? Because they're obviously better run blockers than people think.
Yeah, I mean, we do what we can, you know, but ultimately it comes down to Zach. You know, for the most part, he always holds on to the ball, you know, and he hits the holes, and he does a good job making the reads and different things of that nature, and he hits it hard. You know, it's not always clean on our end. We like to say we have huge holes every single time, but it's not always that way. And he's a guy that can run through the first tackler. So there's a lot of times when the safety may be coming downfield and he has to make one miss and usually just runs them over and, you know, gains the extra 5 yards. And so we're very fortunate to have him in the backfield, have somebody that's such a strong runner and kind of runs fearless. And, you know, up front, we just do our job. We try to get better each and every day. We don't spend a lot of time on the run game, and we don't really run that much. You know, one of the things that I found most impressive is we don't have that many attempts a game, but we're still able to put up good yards. And we just take a tremendous amount of pride in it. And we enjoy run blocking, so anytime we get the opportunity to do it, we want to keep on doing it. You know, and the only way we're going to be able to do that, and June's going to call those plays if we have success.
The other area that you're developing your rotation or your reputation as you're starting to grow as a coach is recruiting. More and more California kids are showing up at SMU and on the lists of people who are considering SMU. Did June Jones come? Coach Klemm played at Hawaii, but he grew up in Inglewood, California. Did Coach Jones go to you and say, we want more California kids? Or did you go to him and say, there's a ton of talent out there and I know a lot of those coaches? How did you get started sort of setting your footprint out there for SMU?
Well, it wasn't something that we talked about. It was just, you know, I played out there and I played at a school that's pretty good. And we have a number of us that went to NFL and had some success, and guys are coaching as well. So when I got the job, you know, people emailed me and said congratulations, different things like that. And you see on the bottom, you know, the address and all that, and they're coaches. So I stayed in constant contact with them. They said, hey, if you're ever out in this way, you know, holler at us or whatever. So that's what I did, and just kind of opened the doors a little bit. I started getting filmed, and you know, going through Texas and different things like that. There's a lot of schools that we have to compete with, and there's a lot of schools in California too. But you know, traditionally, we've had a little difficulty recruiting some kids. And when I go to California, kids are a little more open initially. You know, this is last year before we had success before the bowl game. A little more open initially to considering SMU. And went out there, and you know, all they know is that we won a bowl game last year. Nobody knows about the death penalty or anything that happened in the past. So the kids are excited about it and they're fired up about it. An example is Ben Gottschalk. I called him early in the year and he didn't give me the time of day. You know, and he had the Oregon States and different people recruiting him. And then we win our bowl game, and I call him, and he answers the phone. He talks to me for an hour and a half. You know, and the next thing you know, he's coming on a visit a week later. And it's just, that's a kid that I saw on TV. I wasn't actively recruiting out in California yet, but I saw him on TV against Klein Oaks or something like that at Cowboy Stadium. And that's how he caught my attention. And just, I saw his reaction to, you know, the recruiting process and Daryl Jackson's, and that kind of made me feel like, hey, you know, I could go out there and I could approach this a little bit differently. And I'm not going to go out there and fly out there all the time, but if I could recruit from afar and have some success, then it's worth doing. And some people get the misconception that all I do is recruit California, but I do have three or four commits from Texas, you know, this class, and there's still a great amount of talent here, and I'm not going to neglect that. I have one of the richest areas in regards to talent in East Texas and the Arlington area, and so I hit those hard. I'll be out there next week, but Coach Jones is letting me travel out to California now. I'm going to hit Los Angeles next week as well, and I have some big-time recruits that are considering us from there right now. So I'm going to continue hitting that, but I'm not going to neglect our home state, obviously.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by defensive end Margus Hunt. And then in our third segment, we'll look forward to the UTEP game by talking to both Coach Klemm and Margus. So we're going to take a quick break. This is PonyFans Live.